We're ready.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of Hamilton City Council for April 26, 2023, a little after 6 o'clock. We're here in City Council Chambers, 345 High Street. Roll call, please.
Pullman.
Present.
Fear.
Present.
Vaughn.
Present.
Ryan.
Here.
Nab.
Present.
Lauer.
Present.
Moeller.
Present.
We have the quorum.
Okay, we're going to start off with an offering of prayer by Vice Mayor Michael Ryan, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are able.
Lord, let us live each day in the most loving ways, the God-conscious ways. Let us serve all who are in need, regardless of race, color, or creed. Please continue to guide our city, our council, and our management teams. Please protect our police officers and firefighters and keep them out of harm's way. Please continue to bless our city, our state, and our country. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening again. We now go into that part of the agenda, which is special presentations. And we've got some different special presentations tonight. First one, we have a young man from Crawford Woods Elementary School. I think Harim Ruiz, is he there in the audience? Can you walk up here? And why don't you bring one of your favorite teachers up here, your librarian, Renee Smallwood? Then we'll have some other folks come up here. Now, a lot of folks talk about wanting to write a book. And, well, this young man, he wrote a book. He illustrated the book. And he's also a guitarist, musician. So this book is about guitars. But I'm going to let Mrs. Smallwood kind of say the rest of the story, if that's okay, or at least tell them about what's going on.
Okay, we, through a grant with Lane Libraries, received an author visit from the United States author Jarrett Lerner out of Pennsylvania. He is a graphic novelist, and he came to our school. He combined avid reading with technology. We have ViewBoard smart boards, and Harim got to visit that. We had 3rd through 6th grade all in the cafeteria. And that kind of sparked his interest, and he wrote a book in a month.
Whoa.
Okay. Maureen, why don't you kind of tell us all who's here and tell us about what it was like to write a book?
First, as Mrs. Smallwood said that first when Jarrett Lerner, the author who came to Crawford Woods, he inspired me to make the book, and I was very excited to make this book. So I would just start trying to find pages or apps that could help me to start making a book. So then later I investigated and started drawing and used special apps and technology to start making a new book.
It's amazing. Who's all here with you? I mean, how about introducing your family? You got your family here?
Yeah, I got my family, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my teacher, Mr. Keiko, Mr. Fades, and my school principal and Mrs. And Milders, who's also here.
Who's this young lady to your left over here? Who's that?
Well, she's my reading teacher. She's Mrs. Fades, and she teaches me reading.
Okay.
And my other teacher, his name is Mr. Cagle, and he teaches me more about math.
Why don't all of you stand up so we can all see who he just introduced? Okay. What's it like to write a book?
Well, first when you start making a book, you get excited by the brainstorming and the first making of this book. So it was very exciting of making my own very book because you always regularly read books of other authors, but making your own book and reading your own book, it's very different. It's a different experience when you read your own book.
Now, you illustrated your own book too, didn't you?
Yeah, I use my drawing skills to start drawing all the illustrations in this book, and it was a very special book that I made, my first book, and I like how I started drawing, the brainstorming, and I really like how I finished my book.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
you're also a musician, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
What do you play?
Well, I play the guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the favorite song you like to play on the guitar?
Well, sometimes I just like normally practice some notes to start learning rhythms or any type of music. So I just start like practicing and doing all random kinds of rhythms.
Hey, Woods, you're a Renaissance man, and how old are you right now?
Right now I'm 10 years old.
Okay. Well, you've done things that 80-year-olds and 70-year-olds have never done. So, can we get in line to get a book and have you sign a book for us?
Yes.
All right. Why don't we all get in line to get this book, okay?
Make sure they buy them.
Take you go first.
Go ahead.
Does the family want to come up here and the teachers? Come on up here. Stand behind him. I know you have to inspire
If you
people.
don't mind, sign right there. Can you say to Joshua and sign your name, please? Joshua. O-S-H. That's what S-H-U-A. Sorry.
Okay, it may be worth a lot, but this is his first.
Thank you very much.
All right. Say, David, my name's Eric, E-R-I-C. Yeah, hope you know what 1099 is.
This man's going to have agents galore.
I see.
He's already done amazing things at age 10.
Great.
Principal of Crawford Woods, is he a good student?
Absolutely.
Is he good to have around the school?
He is.
All
He is
right.
absolutely great to have around the school. Thank you.
This could be a collector's item down there, you know that.
Yep, I hope it is.
He'll be 30 years old, and I'll be like 100, and it's, what's the icon? How are you?
I'm not going to tell you what the book's about. You've got to read it to find out what this book is about.
Are you an agent now?
It's good to see you too.
He is an actual natural looker. You know that, don't you? He is a natural.
Who calls somebody this book? Who calls you?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, I think you should go on Amazon and buy a lot of them, pass them out. Please? It's through Amazon. Kareem, what's your favorite class? Now, you're a smart man. What are you going to say?
Good answer for Cindy. He really likes math more, it's okay. Wow. Well, that's cool. Look at this. Look at this. So many other
All right. How about this? How about that? We're going to have a special one for the last person. All of you have books already, don't you?
Yes.
All of you have books already. We've got a musician who plays guitar in the city. We're going to give one to Brandon Sarber.
Oh, yeah.
He's a music man, so we're going to get one for him. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right.
First book.
Now, you do one to Brandon and say "Rock on," okay? Can you do that?
2 copies in the library now, there's a waiting list. Oh, wow.
Here, rock on. Right. Okay. Now you've got all this audience listening to you right now. How do you want to wrap this up? What do you want to tell all? What do you want to tell all of us?
I am very excited for making my very first book, and I'm planning on making more future books, so I'm waiting for that too.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, teachers and family.
We're going to take one picture with you.
I'll tell you what, why don't you all stand back behind here, and then council will be in the background. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right, I'll go next. Hold on, we zoom out a hair. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I'll send him a text.
Okay. Like I said, we got some really great special presentations. The next one is the Kettering Health Update.
Thank you, Mayor Moeller, and thank you, City Council. Anytime we have the opportunity to come and talk to you, it's a great honor and privilege. So thank you for giving us your time and attention. And Paul Hoover, our president, sends his regrets. He was called away, so he could not join us. But I brought a more handsome gentleman. Brad Morrison is our chief nursing officer, and he oversees our surgical department as well as all of our clinical services. So
Great.
I thought it would be an ace in the hole to have our lead clinician come and talk as well.
Great.
So, and I'm Kevin Attride. I lead our business development efforts and growth opportunities at the hospital. So if I haven't had the opportunity to meet you, thank you for having me. So we're here tonight to talk about robotic surgery in Hamilton. Not just robotic surgery in Hamilton. And I first want to start with a story. I'm going to call her Nancy. That's not her real name, but I'm going to call her Nancy to keep her private. But Nancy called 911, and she was on her way to our emergency department. Her chest felt like an elephant was sitting on it. And she goes into our emergency department, and our emergency team, our physicians and our nurses, are working her up. She thinks she's having a heart attack. Our clinicians think she's having a heart attack. But yet, during the middle of this incident, they said she's not actually having a heart attack, but there's something extremely wrong. Her heart is rapidly beating, not a normal thump, thump, but it's very erratic. And they call in one of our surgeons, one of our robotically trained surgeons, and say, there's this issue going on, we're not quite sure, and he huddles with anesthesia, and they say, it's a risky surgery, but we think we need to take her to surgery because there's something wrong with her. And the anesthesiologist says, this is a big risk, but they finally work it out. They take her into surgery, and on a Friday afternoon, Dr. Parker and Dr. Lichter, our surgeons, take her into surgery, and they say she has the largest hiatal hernia they have ever seen. And we'll go into what a hiatal hernia is later, but her hiatal hernia was large enough that most of her stomach was actually up in the middle of her chest, pressing on her heart to the point where her heart was struggling to beat properly. And so they had called Paul Hoover in to see this dramatic event. And as Dr. Parker is pulling her stomach out of her chest, her heart starts beating normally. The thump, the thump, the thump. And it's the amazing clinicians we have with the right technology all working together for Nancy in this instance to change a life. And you see, that's not the end of Nancy's story. She actually was living, I'll call, a life that was miserable. She was sleeping in a recliner and drinking Ensure because she could never eat a full meal, and she could barely keep any food down. And this incident of which she had this large hiatal hernia caused her to live that way, and she thought she lived a semi-normal life. And yet, after this procedure, which Dr. Parker and Dr. Lichter pull her stomach out of her chest, down into her abdomen, she then could go on to lead a normal life, eating meals regularly. So not only did we save her from a cardiac event, but we allowed her, our surgeons and the rest of our team allowed her to have what I'll call a normal life again. And that's just one of many stories that we have of the care taking place at Kettering Health Hamilton. And so, our surgical robot was at the center of this, enabling Dr. Parker to use the latest technology to take care of her. And Brad's going to talk a little bit about the benefits, but I want to show you just a very brief video that speaks a little bit about the Intuitive Da Vinci Xi. Audio. Well, maybe I'll narrate for you. So, Intuitive is the maker of the Da Vinci robot, and the Xi platform that you see here on the screen is the 4th generation technology. See, robotic surgery goes back to approximately the late 70s, early 80s, and talk about very expensive machines that only the highest elite academic centers could afford. Well, robotic surgery has iterated to the point where robotic surgery, the machine is still very expensive, to the tune of about $2 million. But it has enabled community hospitals like ours to receive this type of technology. And you can see some of the actions here. It has a wide range of motion that allows the physician to get into the cavity that he or she is working on in a way that is far superior to any of the previous generations. The bed syncs up with the robot so they can move the patient around as necessary for the surgery. And Brad will speak a little bit more about the visualization, but the cameras are amazing on this. But I'll let Brad go into a little deeper of the benefits, but the Intuitive team is talking about all the reasons why this robot is superior in helping physicians to get to a better surgery. But I'll let Brad take over as he's much more eloquent.
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening, everybody. I'm excited to be here talking about robotic surgery and some of what we can do here in Hamilton. But first, I want to say I have never written a book. So great job. Great job. And that's more exciting than this. So moving on to some of the benefits, and I want to talk a little bit about the mechanism here as well. So first of all, this picture is 3 of our general surgery / trauma surgeons who do robotic surgery. They specialize in robotic surgery. 2 of these gentlemen on the left, so Dr. Lichter, as you're looking at the picture, and then on the right, Dr. Grody, are both Hamilton, Fairborn natives who went to medical school, finished residency, and came home to work here at Hamilton Hospital. So really excited to have them back. And then Dr. Parker in the middle just finished up a fellowship in minimally invasive robotic surgery and joined us less than a year ago. So really blessed and excited to have these general surgeons with us. What you see there in the middle is the actual robot, the Da Vinci Xi platform, which our Fort Hamilton Hospital Foundation helped to purchase that expense, as Kevin mentioned. So with the help of our foundation, we were able to get that robot probably about 18 months ago, 24 months ago, and have really started to build an exciting program around that. Really, the advantages to the robotic surgery, it is minimally invasive. So if you think historically, open surgery involves large incisions, opening up the abdomen or the chest or whatever you're operating on. Then we started having some laparoscopic surgery, which was minimally invasive, but it's not as easy to manipulate. The movement of the tools is not as precise. So it's less invasive than open, but it's not the same as what we can do with the robotic surgery. The robotic surgery, you saw in the video, and then you'll see here covered in plastic are these 4 probes. So one has a camera on it. So there's 4 small incisions made in your abdomen, about 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters, and these 4 small probes are inserted into your abdomen. One has a camera, so you have great visibility, and the other 3 have different devices to allow you to maneuver and perform your surgery, which is just incredible. So there is less pain, smaller incisions, less pain, enhanced visualization. So if you think about if you're working on a car engine or something, and you're trying to look and see down into the cavity of what you're doing and get your fingers in there, it's hard to see. But when you've got a camera right down there, and then you've got smaller devices, much smaller than my hands, that can perform the tiniest movements and procedures, the visibility is much better to see what's going on and what you need to do. So the clinical benefit is significant. The range of motion of these devices inside the abdomen is much enhanced over, it is significantly enhanced over what our hands can do. because my hands are big and a little bit clumsy, and so if I'm working in your abdomen, we have amazing surgeons who can do open surgeries. But if you think about something much smaller and more refined, being able to make those movements, it's really exciting. Faster recovery associated with less invasive surgeries, and then obviously faster return to work. So this here is actually one of the procedures that Dr. Parker received specialized training to do. Is called a LINX procedure, and it is to help manage acid reflux in what we call GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, which is really the reflux of your stomach contents up through your esophagus there. So normally your esophageal sphincter constricts like that and keeps your stomach contents in your stomach. Some of us over time, it doesn't constrict as well. So folks who are suffering from significant gastric reflux can have this LINX procedure, which is a robotic procedure to put these magnetic beads around your esophagus, that sphincter, and be able to keep it closed. So it allows food and fluid into your stomach, but it helps keep that sphincter closed to prevent the reflux from coming up out of your stomach. Dr. Parker is the most experienced surgeon in this Southwest Ohio area in performing this procedure. Like I said, he just finished a year of specialized training, partly in this procedure itself, and he can do this robotically. So we're really blessed and excited to have him here at Hamilton as well.
I'll speak to the hiatal hernia here.
Yeah, oh yeah. I don't know if we can go back and show you the picture that was up there. The video. So the hiatal hernia, you'll see here the pink on the top is actually the significant, or representing the diaphragm, the muscle that separates the stomach or the abdomen from the chest. And that's the muscle that helps your lungs expand and contract and keeps your heart up separate from your abdominal contents. Well, a hiatal hernia is when that area around the esophagus, which goes through your diaphragm, gets separated, stretched out, and the stomach contents can start to come up into the chest cavity. So that was the story that Kevin shared. This lady had a significant hiatal hernia where that stomach was pushing up through the diaphragm into the chest cavity, and we were able to pull that out and then insert mesh and keep the contents down in the stomach where it belongs. So that's the hiatal hernia. Thank you. So I hope you can see I'm excited about what we can do with robotic surgery. This is another form of robotic surgery. So this is orthopedic surgery. And this device here is called a Mako robot and is able to help do total knee replacements. And again, similar to the Da Vinci for your abdominal surgeries, the Mako helps to minimize the size of the incision. The cuts and drilling measurements are very precise using the Mako robot. So again, similar benefits of using it. Oftentimes quicker recovery, less pain, smaller incision, less opportunity for infection. But we're also excited to have this robotic platform at the hospital. And these are two of our orthopedic surgeons, Dr. Migliori on the right as you look at the picture, and Dr. Scheidler on the left, who do robotic orthopedic surgery at Hamilton. So this is a list of the services, the types of surgery we can do robotically right here in Hamilton. So total joint replacements, the LINX, which was that esophageal reflux, the beads around the esophagus I just spoke about. Hernias of all kinds, the hiatal hernias we've talked about, the smaller abdominal, umbilical, inguinal hernias. I had the opportunity to actually go in and watch Dr. Lichter do one of the umbilical hernias. And the amazing thing with the visibility of that camera, as he was repairing the one hernia, he found there's actually two spots where the intestines were poking through the abdominal muscle. So there were two hernias, which might not have been noticed on an open surgery. So again, he was able to see that and repair both hernias as he was doing that surgery. Colon and stomach surgeries, appendix, so taking your appendix out if needed, gallbladder surgeries, and then women's health surgeries, we're able to do hysterectomies robotically, prostatectomies robotically, and then kidney surgeries robotically as well. And these surgeries were major open surgeries oftentimes prior to being able to do it robotically. So just really excited about the quicker recoveries, the smaller incisions, the less trauma to the patient. So really excited about that.
And I think in addition, Brad, one thing to highlight, when you have the hiatal hernia, this is a surgery that often took a recovery of 7 to 10 days in the hospital. Can you imagine in this day and age spending 7 to 10 days, and now a patient can go home in approximately 2 days? And so it's really changing the game on how we're doing surgery. And in addition, Brad pointed out a few of our surgeons. Dr. Parker and Dr. Lichter are two of a certain number of surgeons who perform large, complex abdominal wall reconstruction. So think about a hernia that is approximately this big. You think about someone who has a hole in their abdomen about this big. How many surgeons in the greater Cincinnati area would you think would perform that type of surgery? We have 2 of them. 20, 30. There's actually only 5 surgeons in Cincinnati doing this type of surgery robotically, and we have 2 of them. So what Brad and I are wanting to highlight is we have a wonderful opportunity here in Hamilton of great, talented surgeons and amazing technology paired with a surgical team that enable them to do remarkable things. And this isn't just 1 doctor or 2 doctors. I highlighted a couple of them who are doing, who are going a leap ahead of many other surgeons in the area. But there's a whole range, and for time's sake, I'm not going to walk through every surgeon here, but I want to highlight this isn't just 1 or 2 doctors. We have a whole team of surgeons performing robotic surgery right here in Hamilton. And it really leads me to one of potentially the last slide to say we have a vision and an opportunity here in Hamilton. When I look at the vision of what Spooky Nook is saying we don't just want to do sports in Hamilton, we want to do sports across Cincinnati. And we potentially want to do sports across multiple states. And so in Hamilton, we're having similar conversations to say, can we be a regional hub, Cincinnati and greater, for this type of surgery? And it's very aspirational, but I think the first time Sam Byler walked in here and said, hey, I have a vision for you, it was aspirational as well. And so we're wanting to change the game so that someone in Loveland, we actually just had someone in Loveland come through our ER because they came to Spooky Nook. We want someone in Loveland to come to us for robotic surgery as well. And so we're not there yet, but that's the vision we have, where people all across Cincinnati are saying, hey, we heard about this hospital. We knew very little, but they have great talent and they have the right technology to help me or my loved ones. So that's where we want to head. But interested in what questions you have for us this evening.
I want to say one thing. Were you there, Dan, at the hospital? I had the opportunity to test drive that Da Vinci. You probably did it too, Dan. It is the sensitivity of that, the camera on that. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, I was getting excited about it, and I was listening to your doctors, and you 2 guys were there, but also some of the nurses that were there. I mean, talk about a great team. And they're excited to tell you about how great this robotic surgery is, how great the Da Vinci is. But I'll tell you, I'll never forget that. I've never had the opportunity to do anything like test drive, anything like that. And it was absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you for stepping into our surgical suite. And for any of the rest of you, we would love to have you come and join us. And like Mayor Muller, you can sit down on the console and actually use the robot. And clearly you're not going to be doing surgery the first time you sit down at a console, but it gives you the idea of how the surgeons are using this technology to really perform precision level care on, maybe it's your mom or maybe it's a neighbor. So that's the level of care we want for the residents of Hamilton and for the residents across Cincinnati and the greater Southwest Ohio and Indiana and Kentucky.
and the fingers that were part of that. I mean, you're like putting a pen cap on a pen, or even obviously much smaller, but it was absolutely amazing. I just was so proud of Kettering and what you've invested in and how this helps our citizens.
Thank you. And I want to highlight, so Brad mentioned Sonia Crambuel, who leads our foundation efforts. It's citizens of Hamilton who have donated to our foundation who have also made this possible. So thank you to the city for always supporting us, and to the donors across Hamilton as well.
Questions or comments? This is in our city. I think it's amazing.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Diversity and Inclusion Commission update, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. City Clerk?
And you guys understand that my wife laid down in diversity for 3 days, I was down there for 2 days, for the building upstairs, to understand. She gets out this way.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of council and Hamilton family. Hope everyone is doing well this evening. I am Jean Pope, and I'm the Human Resources Director of our great city organization. I am bringing you the update this evening for the Diversity and Inclusion Commission. During the past 3 years, we have endured some challenges, the pandemic, some scheduling issues, etc. But we're at a point now where we're building via education, and we are we are educating ourselves as to what the city organization needs. It's after 5. Please excuse me. What have we done in the past as a Diversity and Inclusion Commission? Did it work? Do we have resources available to complete our mission? Do we understand our mission? What does it look like in our community? And when we have recommendations, how do we assist in implementation? So what the commission is doing basically is has taken a in-depth look at what we want to do and how we can do it. To answer all of those questions, we began this year with education as well as inquiry. We sought out different departments or organizations that in their own unique way have tapped into the community at large, and in addition to COH itself. We have invited collective groups to our meetings and to discuss what their desires and expectations are from the D&I Commission, and it has been an eye-opening experience thus far. Some of the persons that we have invited are Casey Rouse from the Hamilton Community Foundation, Dr. Ron Jackson from the Sinspire Consulting Firm, Brandon Sarber from the Department of Neighborhoods, Adam Helms, Director of Resident Services, Melanated Matters, which is an affinity group at the Hamilton High School. And we had just last week a women's forum, which was open discussion about how the city of Hamilton itself is creating avenues, pathways, or opportunities for the women that work here, and how that translates into the community as opportunities. So it begins with us as the commission. With the education that we've received, we're using our networks, our personal networks, to draw attention to events that we're having here in the city of Hamilton and other boards and volunteer opportunities. So what we decided was one of the reachable items that we could do is to give people opportunities to get more involved, and that would be the best way for us to spread information and allow all communities to participate, which is what our driving force is, right? We hope to see the results of these efforts this summer, and I will keep council posted. And lastly, we do have a call to action. We do have several positions that are open on the Diversity and Inclusion Commission, and we would love for residents to consider placing an application. The applications are online. They will be tomorrow morning at City of Hamilton website, and it's hamilton-oh.gov. So we look forward to giving you a more in-depth look at what our items are. Do we have any questions this evening?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Update of the Hamilton Ordinance number 2019-11-124.
Good evening, Mayor Mueller, members of council, and citizens of Hamilton. I'm Letitia Block, Law Director, and I'm here to give an update on unsolicited written materials. I gave an update similar to the one I'm about to give at Ordinance Review Commission last week, and so it was requested for me to give that presentation here. So in 2019, the City of Hamilton passed an ordinance to regulate unsolicited written materials. Those are otherwise known as circulars. Those are the leaflets that come in little plastic bags that you may see in your yard. And the intent of that ordinance was to reduce blight and litter in our community. So the position of the ordinance was not to eliminate the distribution of unsolicited written materials, but to regulate where those materials could go. Our ordinance identifies 6 permissible locations for unsolicited written materials to be delivered, all of which are away from the curbs and the gutters, which is the issue that was raised when we were looking at the ordinance. I won't read all of those, but those are on the screen. So the actions that have been taken since 2019, the law department has been in contact with the distributors of those circulars. And the 2 companies at that time in 2019 was Velasas and Cox Media. We also created a special category in our 311 system related to circulars. And we also created a complaint form so that if someone wanted to escalate a complaint to the law department for additional follow-up, they could do that. And also identifies that they could submit pictures of someone in the act violating the ordinance, also to submit video to the law department. So when someone submits a 311 request, they are informed about how they can opt out, or given the website and also the telephone information for the distributors. Since that time, the company Velasas has changed names from Velasas to Velasas to Veracast, and that just happened last year. And then as of the end of last year, we were told that the Sunday Values, the one that was distributed via the Journal News, is no longer in operation. So we now only have 1 distributor of circulars in Hamilton at this time. So this is, it's hard to see on the screen, but this is the update that you receive if you do a 311 request. But the most important part to many of the residents is the information on how they opt out. It's also in the bag. If you receive that, there's a number on the bag for that as well. So we will be doing a story on this to update the residents on this information. And this is also a copy of the complaint form that someone can fill out. We have received a few 311 requests related to that, but no formal complaints submitted to the law department on this issue for additional follow-up. So the next steps related to this is to send another letter to Veracast and let them know about the 311 issues that have been raised with the City of Hamilton. And then we also will be planning to invite them to the next Ordinance Review Commission, meaning to have a conversation with the commission related to compliance or the lack thereof with our ordinance. Any questions?
Questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
There's just 2 things that I'd like to point out in simple terms, that if you at home are receiving these and don't want to please get on and opt out so that you're not receiving it anymore. And secondly, this is a battle we've been fighting, well, since 2019, if not longer. And just like with anything else in Hamilton, if you see something laying there, you can pick it up yourself and throw it away. We don't necessarily have to hit people with hammers to try to get things done. They get new carriers. There's many, many reasons why this happens. But please, pick things up yourself and throw it away instead of just waiting. Thank you.
Okay. Other comments? So I thank the law department for educating us on this, educating our public, and coming up with a plan to invite them to an Ordinance Review Commission meeting so we can address them face to face.
So, so the next thing, and I'll go through this very quickly, it came up during audience of City Council last week about the Charter Review Commission. So there is an established Charter Review Commission in our charter, at the end of our charter. And the purpose of the Charter Review Commission is to review the charter and provide recommendations to City Council. The qualification for that is to be a resident of the City of Hamilton. So we had our first one in 2005. The most recent one was in 2020. And according to our ordinance, we need to make appointments by February 25th of 2025. So on the next slide, just give some additional overview. The charter allows for a standard charter review commission, and that can be 9 to 15 members every 5 years. It also allows for a special charter review commission, and that can be 5 to 9 members, and that can happen at any time. So there was some discussion at the last meeting about, whether or not we would ever want to do that before the 5-year period, and the charter provides for that. But if we follow the procedure that we did last time in previous years, what typically happens is there's an application that happens early in the year. So the last process, it was January 2020, there was an application that was inviting people to apply to be on the Charter Review Commission. And then shortly after that, there was a motion made at City Council appointing the chair of the Charter Review Commission, and then also the members, and then there was a resolution, and then we issued notices to the individuals that were selected. So if we follow that same process at the end of this year or the early next year, we would do an application and solicit applicants for the Charter Review Commission. So this is the meeting dates and information. And we had 14 proposals last time that went to the voters, that went before council. And we had 3 of those that didn't pass. I won't go over all of those. Are there any questions about Charter Review?
Questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
even though it has to be done by 2025, we can do it sooner, right?
That is correct.
Because I think what generates us to get something done is if city departments, because you guys live it 8 days a week, 25 hours a day, we don't. So if city departments see a need for us to bring something together sooner, we can do that, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So, but at this time, unless that comes up, it wouldn't be until probably the end of next year that we would be bringing something forward.
Thank you.
And this is on our calendar to make sure that we start posting, and we'll be good in 2025 or before.
Correct.
Federal Charter Review Commission.
Correct.
Thank you. Take care of our special presentations. Great. We now go to audience of citizens. Individuals who wish to speak may speak during this part of the agenda. Reserve the right to speak when the item is up for a vote on the council floor. All individuals who intend to address City Council are required to sign this blue public speaking book, and each speaker is allowed up to 5 minutes. Jim Logan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I might repeat myself a lot of times, but I was over on High Street, going from the river, all the way over to Eden Street, Erie, and I stopped at every single light going there. The traffic lights were screwed real bad since you got a new system in there. They really screwed up real bad. I told Pat about it earlier.
Yes, you
He
did.
didn't believe me, but
I believed you.
Huh?
I believed you.
Okay, I'm saying, but and also there's still students too out here in High Street and other streets in Hamilton too. They didn't fix up. I was over on one on I Kennedy Street, over on 6th Street and our 6th, our G Street, and there's a big sewer lid, or a big gas right in the sewer lid, you know. And there's a bunch of them like that too. I mean, not quite as big as that, but you know. So. And who's going to fix them up by around the sewer lids?
Okay, those are your 2 items for tonight?
Yes.
Okay, traffic is an ongoing project of tweaking and tinkering and gathering data, okay?
Yeah.
So that's gonna continue on, and nothing's gonna be perfect here for a while.
But how long is it going to take?
We've got the best professionals the city could have working on this. Now, regarding the sewer, the manhole lids, that kind of thing, you notice the new ones are being put into the ones that are pretty much state-of-the-art. Some of the older ones, I know that we struggle with, and you do bring that information to us at each council meeting, and I do know that Rich Engel always writes them down and does look at them. So I'm real confident, and I know I have seen improvement throughout the town when it comes to that particular topic. So
Except for the Chevrolet time, yes.
I see improvement all over town. Nothing's perfect yet, but we're working on that. So, and it's like you said, the timing of the lights, that's going to take a little bit of time, but you got to collect data and then make the adjustments when necessary. Okay?
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Have a good night.
You too. Josh Sellers?
Just signed in case you guys need me. They told me to sign in. Maybe I did it wrong. I'm not a professional.
No. If you want to talk about what's on the caucus agenda, you can.
No, I have not.
Is you okay? Okay. Dan Hancock. Get your name and address, please, if you would.
Please.
Your name and your address.
My name is Dan Hancock. The address is 67 Herman Avenue. And if you do me a favor, whenever you guys speak, please pull the microphone in front of you so I can hear I like to hear what you're saying, but without it, I just know you're talking and that. So I'd appreciate to pull your mics up to you and that. The other thing is, with the presentation there from Hamilton Hospital there, they had my physician up there, Dr. Scheidler, and that. He's a very good neurosurgeon, and that. I recommend to anybody. But then I had all that list up there. I have half the stuff that's on that list they had. But the main point is that we have people walking up and down my street, and like one lady walks 5 dogs at a time, another one walks about 3, and there's a bunch of other ones that walk about 3 or 4 dogs and that. And I'd like to see about us pursuing a dog park there at that site there at the end of Mark Avenue. There's 3 entrances on Mark, off of Cleveland Avenue, and also off of Northwest Fulton Boulevard. And if you want, I can get you 1,000 signatures in that, at least, of people that would like to have a dog park in there. If not, also put a soccer field in there, or a little small ball field there for kids to play in. And also, the Hamilton Running Club would like to put a running track around there. There's a couple of people that are against it, but the majority of people would like it. And like I said, but mainly though, is you got these little elderly people walking down the street that don't live on my street. We've got at least, I'd say, 500 dogs on my street alone. And all these other people are walking the dogs, and they'd love to have a dog park in that. And I'd like to see you guys pursue it to go ahead and put one in there. And like I said, if you want, I'll get you the signature of all these people and even pictures of their dogs. So.
Dan, our Parks Conservancy and our city team are always looking at ways to create locations and events that people can enjoy and be able to have quality of life locations like.
And if you need help, I'll cut the grass, man. I mean, I've got a zero-turn lawnmower.
Okay.
You give me the gas, I'll cut the whole place back there.
Let's get that contract signed right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, really,
Yeah.
you think about things that we all think about, and I really appreciate you bringing them to the forefront of our conversations. But what you have brought to our attention, those type of topics are talked about a lot in this building and outside of this building.
Well, like I said, the Board of Education wants to get rid of the land.
Well,
and they said they'd love to get to the city and give it to them. So I don't know, you work something out with them in that, and like I said, turn it into a dog park.
Let's see what happens.
Okay.
Hang in there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Ryan Herring here, please. Ryan, can you come up to the podium and, can you spell your last name by chance?
Hering.
What I see here too.
Not
Okay.
not like the fish.
Well, good evening. What's your address, please?
940 Corwin Avenue.
Great. What's going on?
So I have things written down in my notes here so I don't forget. First thing I would like to, if you guys have never traveled on Tylersville Road between 5 Points and Bypass 4, I would like you to travel down that road on your way home. And you'll see that, like I told the lady on the phone today, and I found out about this meeting tonight, she says that a pothole issue. I said that whole entire stretch is a pothole, especially from it's Hamilton Enterprise Park Drive, and I can't recall, it's either east or southeast in the direction, just east and both ways. It's horrible. They did tell me that it is the city of Hamilton, not the county. The county is who I called, and but it's if you check it out, you'll you'll see. And the other thing is, as I stated, I live on Corwin, and there's a one-way underpass underneath the train tracks there. And myself, along with others that live in the area, would like to see some sort of maybe a one-way traffic light there or something, because I've almost hit someone going the wrong way, traveling on Zimmerman, passing my road up to go, because I forgot to go somewhere else or whatever. And there was actually an accident 3 or 4 years ago, a really bad one actually. They were stupid about it. I mean, just ease out. I mean, if they're going to do it, I can see. But it was actually stopped, I believe, one time for at least 40 minutes. That's over the top. And I think I can see you had to shake it that yes, that is an issue. And I think that was it.
Okay.
I'm glad they fixed the hole that was in the middle there in the tunnel. Finally, you had to stay to the left, but now you don't have to.
Well, I know the underpass is being discussed quite a bit by our professionals, and council is aware of that as well. Regarding Tylersville, Rich, can you give us anything? What's going on with Tylersville?
We anticipate bidding that project later this summer. We're waiting for construction prices to go down. We don't think bidding it at the moment is going to provide the best prices for the city and for our project. In addition, we're completing the acquisition of temporary and permanent easements. You have legislation on council agenda tonight for those items.
Hey, Mr. Herring, there's been probably 3 or 4 meetings in a row where easements have been on our agenda, which are required to be able to get that project started and completed. So it's more than on the radar. I mean, this is moving along, but timing is an important part of this as well. Is that correct, Mr. Engel? Yeah. So we're working on it.
In the meantime of waiting for prices to go down, the price of the tires, suspension, and rims are not going down.
There's just the right time when you'll be pleased with the end product, and we've got great people working on it. And the underpass, like I said, Rich, that underpass is being looked at right now.
The one-way underpass for
us, for
under Corwin Avenue or under the train tracks of Corwin. Okay.
Yeah, Rich is acknowledging yes. So
talking about possibly maybe a light or something, maybe, or
I'm not sure. We haven't gotten any kind of a in-depth report, I don't think yet. But you got professionals working on it right now.
Okay.
I mean, you really do. This is not.
Right.
We're not just taking down your name. We're taking action.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that takes care of our audience of citizens. We now go to the consent agenda. That includes matters such as staff reports, caucus reports, meeting minutes, our March 2023 financial report, our March 2023 investment report. The first going to go to the committee of the whole, so we can hear some more detail about what's on the caucus agenda. Is there a motion that the regular meeting be recessed and the committee of the whole take place?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Council Member Pullman, seconded by Vice Mayor Ryan. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried. It is 7:01. And please lead us through this caucus agenda, if you would, please.
Of course, Mr. Mayor. So the first 4 items on the caucus agenda for tonight will be presented by our planning director, Liz Hayden.
Good evening, City Council and residents of Hamilton. The first agenda item is about zoning ordinance text amendments. As you know, we try to do a couple of rounds of these every year. And this one is mostly just cleanup, but we are adding solar arrays and wind turbines as uses, as accessory uses, and also changing something with tree planting in our residential design standards. Basically, for new residential development, we want, instead of having builders put a tree in the front yard, we're asking them to pay the city a fee, and we will plant it in the curb lawn. That way we have more control over making sure the right tree is planted, the right that will live and survive. So that we think that's actually something that Dave Bieneman recommended that we're proposing. But other than that, it's mostly kind of clean up. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Thank you for your work on this.
The next one is a alley vacation. It is, if you can see on the aerial, it is close to North B Street and Park Avenue, but it's an unimproved alley that we are proposing to vacate. Any questions on this one?
Any questions? Great. Thank you.
The next item is a package of 2 different things that are related to the operations of the Architectural Design Review Board and the rules that impact our historic districts and historic properties throughout the community. Some of the rules live in the Hamilton zoning ordinance, section 2600 and 4500. But then we also have the zoning ordinance enables the Architectural Design Review Board to create policies and guidelines, and you're reviewing both of these tonight. The policies and guidelines maybe have not come to you before, I'm not sure. The ADRB board is able to update them as needed at the board level, but there's been a lot of development over the past 5 or 6, 10 years, and it's given us a great opportunity to look at the regulations and update them based on best practices, issues we're seeing in the community, lessons learned from contractors and projects. And we made a lot of changes, and we thought it would make sense to bring them to you to make sure that you're aware of them and that the regulations that the ADRB is utilizing to make their decisions every month align with City Council's objectives. So that is why we are here today. And this was a lot of information. We made sure that it went through ADRB first, and then it went through Planning Commission so that there was a lot of eyes on this, because I know it's a lot to ask to look at. But do you have any questions about what we proposed?
No questions. I know a lot of hard work has gone into this, and just to change things that needed to be changed. So,
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Just one question, Liz, kind of a general question. What is the age of the houses where it's declared historic? Someone asked me about a house built in 1951, which is old, but is it historic? And so I just wondered if
we probably don't have very many 1950s properties that are designated historic and regulated by the ADRB, but they absolutely could be. I think that I'd have to double check, but I know that things that were built in the 50s and 60s could be designated historic, and we actually would like to get some more on the historic register, because Hamilton has some really fabulous mid-century modern properties, and none of them are on the historic register. And Brad Spurlock at the Lane Library has identified a few, and we actually went for a grant that we didn't get to work on that effort. So that's something that's on our radar that we would like to do. And if someone's interested in doing that with their own property, we would welcome them reaching out, because we could easily help them to do that on like a one-off situation.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
So the last item coming from the planning department tonight is a conditional use request for Auto Express. That was Josh Sellers. This is his project, why he's here and why I told him to sign in case you had any questions for him. So this is the property tonight that you're reviewing is 3000 Dixie Highway. It is the area in red and then like yellow, orange boxes. But we're also highlighting on this map that it's part of an overall operation. His business is also where the 1 and the 2 are. So it's in 3 different properties, but the ones that we're looking at today are the ones that are outlined. And he is proposing to expand the automotive sales on this property onto the orange rectangle in the back. So this is an image of Auto Express's current operations. What they're proposing to do is remove the building to the left on this picture, and then they would stop what this site's being used for right now is automotive detailing, and you can kind of see some of that work going on in this picture. The proposal is to demolish the building on the left, the bigger one, and then the auto detailing would go away, so there would be no work going on at the property, and it would be primarily used as a ancillary site to park cars for sale and then some parking for their staff. They've gone from, I think, 20 to 40 staff in the past few years, so they have a need for staff parking. This is the expansion lot. This is a gravel lot. It actually used to be owned by the city. We transferred it to him in 2020. Part of the agreement was that there'd be a development. So it was, the expectation was that it would be, the auto use would expand on here. It just but technically to get a project done to expand the conditional use onto a new parcel, it needs approval. So this is the site plan that's being proposed. You see that they're replacing what is currently a building with parking, and then they're proposing landscaping in the front and in the rear. In the rear is partially because there's a lot of cut-through traffic in the back, and that would help deter some of that. So highlighting, this was topics of conversation at the Planning Commission level, the 3 variances requested, which is a 2-foot landscape buffer is being proposed along Route 4 where a 10-foot landscape buffer is required, and a 0-foot landscape buffer proposed in the rear yard where 5 foot's required. And then along with that, because there's only a 2-foot landscape buffer proposed on the front, that also means that he's proposing to park cars 2 feet setback from the sidewalk where we require a 10-foot setback. And then the third variance is the 1 acre lot size variance, where this is going to be ultimately a little less than a half an acre, but it's actually getting more in compliance with our regulations since it's operating with approval from back in 2012 as a automotive sales lot at like 0.31 acres. Do you have any questions about this proposal?
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
So the building on the right-hand side is, I'm looking at the picture, it's
Yes.
staying in place, and then what are they going to use that building for?
Mostly storage.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
And so Liz, along there are no sidewalks now?
There are sidewalks, so this would all be, well, there's no sidewalks on the Bob Meyer side. And we actually, this is a lengthy story. So kind of skipped over some of it, but part of what they're landscaping is a trail easement that the city has on his property to expand the Miami to Miami Trail at some point. So, but with the soonest that would happen would be like 7 to 10 years from now. So it's not coming in the foreseeable future.
And there's no requirement for sidewalks then, I'm assuming, along there at all?
Typically, we would require sidewalks, but because we are ultimately planning on doing a trail, that hasn't been part of the conversation. And we just thought we'd landscape it, or the proposal would be landscaping, because it would also really go nowhere. There's no sidewalk on Bob Meyer.
You have the railroad tracks, so you wouldn't have anything beyond that. That makes
Right.
sense.
But we're always trying to add sidewalks, so that's kind of an anomaly.
Other questions? If you add those 3 lots that he's got together, how close is that to an acre?
Way more than an acre. The lot in Fairfield's humongous. But with the other lot that's in the city of Hamilton north of Bob Meyer, that's an acre fully.
Is that lot that we saw in the, I'll call it the transfer of property, is that going to be paved?
Yes, paved and striped,
Okay. And how many cars might be on that site?
29.
Okay. And then in moving the building, if you will, demolishing that building, where is that business going to be detailed? Where will that detail shop be?
Great question. On the Fairfield property, the big property that's set back from the street.
Gotcha, thank you.
How unique of a lot is that? How unique is his situation?
I don't know. It's certainly a unique situation. I think this is Auto Express is one of the bigger operations, and there isn't that opportunity to expand onto undeveloped land in very many situations. It's kind of unique.
Well, I remember when he came years ago on the property on the other side of Bob Meyer, and he did a great job with that, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I want to say one thing about this, being real familiar with the automotive business and real familiar with that corner from the previous owner on it, that how much Mr. Sellers has done. I don't know if you've all seen this new building back on Ramona Lane. Ramona Lane was kind of desolate and overgrown back there, and he's got a very clean operation back there and a great, I guess that's a new detail building that he's put up back there, and it's an awesome building. And that corner on Bob Meyer Road and Dixie Highway was nothing pleasant to look at all the time for years. I think once the original repair shop, I believe that's the original repair shop that was there, gets taken down, and we are going to landscape on that little bend of Bob Meyer and Dixie Highway, right?
Everything that's green on there will be landscaped.
And you're going to landscape 2 feet back from the sidewalk, correct? On the front side of Dixie
And then
Highway.
2 18-foot deep landscaped areas at the entrance off of Route 4. You see where the bigger bump outs are. But yes, the consistent.
And I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of a lot of car lots down on Route 4. I'll be honest with you. And it's, but this is, to me, is the cleanest operation of its kind in the city. So I appreciate, whether you like the colors or not, you know, Josh has his own colors, and I was able to speak with him before about this, and it's a very clean operation. So I think that corner is going to look a lot better. Thank you.
You understand, so you've got a parking space, 2 feet buffer, then the sidewalk.
Correct.
Right. Any other questions or comments at all?
Mr. Mayor, just one comment that Liz shared with us during the presentation is that the staffing numbers have increased because of the quality of what this gentleman has done with his automotive business has increased from roughly 20 employees to 40 employees. So I can see the need for staff parking, see the need for upgrades, and think that's why I wondered about the gravel lot now being paved and the access to that off of Bob Meyer Road and things like that. For that area of Hamilton, as Eric had said, I believe it's a plus for the community and what he's done in upgrading that property.
Any other comments from council?
Thanks, Liz.
Who's doing 5?
So items 5 and 6, which deal with grant applications from our health department will be presented by our Executive Director of External Services, Tom Vanderhorst.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. I'm here to talk to you tonight about caucus agenda items number 5 and 6. These are 2 grant opportunities from the state of Ohio for our health department. The first one is a Workforce 23 grant. This is a grant that we have got in the past, and this is a continuation of that grant. It's for $435,000. The permitted uses for it are for workforce development. Right now, this is currently being used to fund the assistant health director's position. Then we anticipate that will be the continued use for this grant, but we do have some flexibility if we need contracted labor, for example, if we have absenteeism or somebody who needs to be filled in with a contract employee, which we've done in the past. This has a little bit of flexibility that we can go back and rewrite the grant uses. This grant period runs from July 1st of 2023 until November the 30th of 2027. So as you can see, this is going to be able to fund a position for a number of years. Any questions on this one?
No, but thank you for securing the grant.
And the second one is for Enhanced Operations 23 grant. This is a COVID related grant. This position, or this $75,000 grant will be used to fund part of the salary for the nursing administrator. That's a position we're currently recruiting for, and this will help mitigate some of their salary expenses that otherwise would have been absorbed by the general fund for duties they're otherwise performing, such as reporting cases to the state of Ohio to track COVID. And this grant runs from August the 1st of 2023 to July the 31st of 2024. You have any questions on this one?
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
Tom, I don't, you may or may not have numbers. It's been a long time since we've heard COVID numbers in the greater Hamilton community. I read today and heard today on the news that numbers are declining. COVID numbers are declining. Would you agree with that for our community, that Hamilton is a better place today than we were, say, this past winter or last fall? Are numbers showing a decline?
I can get the quarterly report we just reviewed at the Board of Health meeting earlier this week. Councilman Nab, I would say it's kind of complicated because the discussions that we had, and I think statewide they said that the cases were below 4,000 for the first time in a while. But some of the discussions that we had at the Board of Health meeting and amongst the staff that monitor this is the people who contract COVID, it's different now because so many of them test at home. They're sort of trained to know, I have to stay at home, I have to mask, I have to stay away from people, and they don't go necessarily to the hospital to get that reported. So even though the cases are down, the feeling is that there's a lot of them that aren't getting reported too because they test at home and they don't go to the hospital. The health department never picks up on the cases and they're not reported. But overall, I'd say yes, you're right, and that's the way the graph looked too. And I'll send that report to all of council so you can see the numbers have gone down. But it's complicated, but I think you're right, it is better.
Thank you.
And lastly, for agenda item number 7 will be a presentation by our Executive Director of Infrastructure, Edwin Porter.
Good evening, Mayor Moeller, members of council, citizens of Hamilton. I'm here to present on a project going on at Greenup. So as most know, City of Hamilton owns and operates a hydroelectric power plant on the Ohio River by the name of Greenup Hydro Power Plant. That consists of 3 turbines, and as a part of those turbines, a section of it's called a carbon shaft seal. The carbon shaft seal separates the rotating portion of the turbine from the non-rotating portion, and it prevents river water from actually getting into the turbine itself, so it's a really critical component. We monitor the health of the shaft seal on all 3 of our units, and unit number 1, it's time to replace our carbon shaft seal. It's a common occurrence. It happens about every 9 years. And the components for that carbon shaft seal are made only by GE Renewable Energy, and so they're a single source, single supplier of that component. And so our department is requesting variance and waiver of advertising for the shaft seal components in accordance with subsection 171.06 of the codified ordinances. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I accept the motion that the committee of the whole be closed.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Nab, seconded by Vice Mayor Ryan. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried. At 7:22, I'll accept the motion that the regular meeting be reconvened.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Vaughn, second by Councilmember Fear. Roll call vote on that motion, please.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
Okay.
7-2.
Then we go to a motion regarding the recommendations.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Pullman.
make a motion that with the exception of the items so noted, council receive the reports of the consent agenda and concur in their recommendations.
Second.
Mr. Councilmember Pullman, seconded by Councilmember Vaughn. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. Council action pertaining to legislative items. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Nab.
I move that a note be made upon the minutes that each member of council was furnished a printed copy of each item of legislation prior to its being considered at this meeting.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Nab, second by Vice Mayor Ryan. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried at 7:23. We now go to actions pertaining to legislative items. We go to pending legislation. Agenda item number 8, second reading of emergency ordinance involving an easement, 1593 Eden Park Drive.
An emergency ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute the purchase of a permanent utility easement located within the city of Hamilton, Ohio, 1593 Eden Park Drive, Eden Court Condominium Owners Association, property owner, city of Hamilton, purchaser, second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Vaughn.
I move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Vaughn, second by Councilmember Pullman. Any discussion on this one? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Or it's adopted, 7-0.
We go to agenda item number 9, second reading of an emergency ordinance involving some easements, 2921 Tylersville Road.
An emergency ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute the purchase of 2 permanent utility easements and 3 temporary easements located at 2921 Tylersville Road. Joanne M. and Daniel L. Schellenbach, property owner, city of Hamilton purchaser, second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Vaughn.
I move the ordinance be adopted.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Vaughn, second by Vice Mayor Ryan. Comments, questions on this one? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Or it's adopted, 7-0.
Go to agenda item number 10, second reading of an ordinance involving zoning, 1796 South Erie Boulevard.
An ordinance amending the City of Hamilton zoning ordinance number 7503 by changing the zoning of 1796 South Erie Boulevard from BPD Business Plan Development to B2 Community Business Zoning District and establish B2 zoning on a vacated portion of Imlay Avenue. City of Hamilton applicant, second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Pullman.
make a motion that the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Pullman, second by Councilmember Nab. Any discussion on this one? Hearing none, roll call.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Or it's adopted, 7-0.
Go to new legislation, agenda item number 11. First reading of an emergency ordinance involving easements, 2881 Tylersville Road.
An emergency ordinance appropriating a standard highway easement and 3 temporary easements on certain real estate located within 2881 Tylersville Road in Hamilton, Ohio for the public purpose of Tylersville Road widening project. West Rentals Incorporated, property owner, first reading.
Thank you. We go to agenda item number 12. First reading of an emergency ordinance involving easements, 2951 Tylersville Road.
An emergency ordinance appropriating a standard highway easement and a temporary easement in certain real estate located at 2951 Tylersville Road in Hamilton, Ohio for the public purpose of Tylersville Road widening project. Jerry W. Collins, property owner, first reading.
Thank you. We go to agenda item 13. First reading of an emergency ordinance following our 2021 street resurfacing and concrete repair program.
An emergency ordinance levying special assessments for public improvements in accordance with resolution number R 2021-5-21 adopted May 12, 2021 relative to the construction and repair of existing sidewalks and driveway aprons on various streets and avenues in the city of Hamilton, Ohio. Final assessment roll for the 2021 street resurfacing and concrete repair program, first reading.
Here we go to agenda item 14. First reading of an emergency ordinance 2020 street resurfacing and concrete repair program.
An emergency ordinance levying special assessments for public improvements in accordance with resolution number R 2021-2-9 adopted February 24, 2021 relative to the construction and repair of existing sidewalks and driveway aprons on various streets and avenues in the city of Hamilton, Ohio. Final assessment roll for the 2020 street resurfacing and concrete repair program, first reading.
Thank you. We go to agenda item number 15. First reading of emergency ordinance involving like some construction and repair of sidewalks.
An emergency ordinance levying special assessments for public improvements in accordance with resolution number R 2021-5-22 adopted May 12, 2021 relative to the construction and repair of existing sidewalks and driveway aprons on the various streets and avenues in the city of Hamilton, Ohio. Final assessment roll for the Corin Avenue Street Resurfacing and Concrete Repair Program, first reading.
Thank you. We go to agenda item number 16, a resolution involving a recoverable grant to Pawnee Water.
A resolution authorizing a recoverable grant to the Satiri Group LLC doing business as Pawnee Water, Satiri, in the sum of no more than $30,000 for the expansion of Pawnee's 315 Dayton Street location within the corporate limits of the city of Hamilton, and authorizing and directing the execution of an economic development agreement with Satiri for said purposes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Vaughn.
I move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Vaughn, seconded by Councilmember Pullman. Comments, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Resolution adopted, 7-0.
Thank you. Audience of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a couple items this evening. Had some meetings in the past week that may be of interest with City Council. One of them is Jackie O'Connell, who now leads Metro Parks. I had a very good working lunch with her earlier in the week. We've talked about, since most of the parks for Metro Parks are much more suburban in nature, you know, how we could look at doing something in Hamilton. Now, they have partnered with us at the Great Miami Woods, sort of across from the Baden Potters Park area. And she admitted that when they entered into that agreement, they were not able to keep pace with what was written in that agreement. So she is working with Adam Helms and also Adam Cornett from the Parks Conservancy to revise that to what she thought would be a more realistic partnership.
Good.
But I am having coffee with Scott Timmer from Fairfield early next week to talk through Joyce Park, because I do have some thoughts. I always wanted to see if Scott had interest from a City of Fairfield perspective, but if there is some interest, I'd like to bring some ideas back to council on that. Had the opportunity to speak to the Hamilton PEO group today at lunchtime over at the Presbyterian Church. Mallory was with me. I think it went very well. It was about an hour discussion, presentation, and Q&A, but a lot of good feedback from a lot of people who have been in Hamilton for a long time. Just want to remind people that the Lindenwald Kiwanis Club Pancake Breakfast is this Saturday. I believe it's at the freshman school again. Is that accurate? Freshman school starts, I think, at 7 a.m. On Saturday morning. Finally, I did also have a meeting last week with Dr. Scott Rasmus of the Mental Health and Addiction Recovery Services, and he had mentioned that they were contemplating working working with Butler County on doing a crisis stabilization center at the old Butler County Nursing Home. As I was just asking Dr. Rasmus questions, the one thing I find interesting that I would like to have further conversations about is they bring in a levy, a tax levy that generates about $10.5 million on an annual basis. But he's very clear that those funds are for mental health and addiction services. I think most of the addiction and mental health issues I see typically resonate with people that are unsheltered or homeless, if you will. I would love to see them incorporate that as part of their mission, because there is no funding for that, to my knowledge, in Butler County. And if they're collecting $10.5 million over a 10-year levy period, that's over $100 million. I think that there should be some conversations about wrapping the homeless question as part of their mission. Now, there could be statutory reasons why they don't do it. I'm just not that familiar with their operations. But I think it's a legitimate conversation, and he even indicated they're asking for a levy increase when they go back to the ballot box, so it'll be more than the $10.5 million that they've been collecting on an annual basis. I do appreciate him making time and coming over and meeting. He actually came and met with our entire executive team, because I wanted public safety to be there, and I wanted some of the other executive directors there so they could also ask questions. But we have a lot of social agencies housed in Hamilton, a lot of social properties in Hamilton, which certainly we do have a need for many of those, but also it also increases our operating expenses, because we have to service them from a public safety perspective, sometimes from a public works perspective, and other perspectives. And since the city does not get direct levies like the county does, or frankly even some of the townships do on their public safety side, it's hard for us to keep pace. So that was really what we were talking the most about. But I did encourage him to get in front of city council at a future meeting so council could ask direct questions and hear what their proposal was. Just want to make sure that council was aware of that. Thank you.
I want to say that Dr. Rasmus, I believe, knows there's a correlation between homelessness and the dual diagnosis of substance abuse and mental illness. I worked with them on various issues, including the opioid settlement, and I think he understands that. We got to find a way to do something with that correlation, because there definitely is one. Anything else, Mr. City Manager?
No, sir.
Audience of council.
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Ryan.
Council, it's no secret that the state of Ohio is indicating there could be a 24% property tax hike on our homes here in the coming weeks. I personally find this deeply concerning, not only just to me, but it's the negative impact it's going to have on our low-income homeowners in our business community. I know Commissioner Dixon has been very vocal about his concern with this, so I'm asking council if we can, as a group, consider to pen a letter or pass a resolution informing the state of Ohio that we are deeply concerned about this, because it's only going to negatively impact our community and some of our most vulnerable residents, including our businesses. Middletown last week, they discussed a resolution. They are concerned about this as well. I did talk to Talmoon today, Middletown councilman, about this, and they are getting some information from Nancy Nix on how to compile a resolution or pen a letter. So, council, I'd love to discuss your concerns if that's the will of the group. I'd appreciate your consideration on that.
Well, let's talk about that. I know I have floated that idea to some people as well. Fairfield City Council did already pass a resolution, if I'm not mistaken. I think we learned that at the Hamilton Fairfield Task Force meeting that we had earlier this week. Those are very legitimate concerns that you're bringing up, and they've got to hear us up in Columbus. Interesting article in the paper. I think there were some quotes like, they can't not do it. They cannot do this increase. I don't get it. I don't understand. Maybe one of you could explain that to me. But I do think we could be one of many councils, trustee groups who make voice is heard.
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
I saw in the paper today that it looks like county commissioners are going to have an audience with the state representatives. I think 3 of 5 have agreed to be there on Monday. I don't know if city representatives could be there as well. I don't know if it's an open meeting, but it might be an opportunity because you have everyone in the room at the same time to voice our concerns about that as representatives of the citizens of Hamilton. So I don't know how we check into that, but I did read that this morning.
We could do a combination of both, a resolution and have someone at that meeting.
Agree.
Comments?
I think also, yeah, it's a deep concern. Thanks for the Vice Mayor bringing it up. But reading correctly in the paper, 24% is a minimum. It could actually be more, according to Nancy Nix, from what I read in there. I mean, we could see a 30 to 35% here in the Hamilton area. So I think it's a deep concern that we need to jump in on this. So thanks for bringing it up. But hopefully I'm correct on what I read in there. Is that what everybody read? That 24 would be a blessing, I think. Would be the low end of it. But she feels it could be a little bit more. So, yeah. And that's going to be devastating.
It is lower in others. She seemed to think that for us in Butler County, it would be 24 or greater. That's the way I
think Claremont County, I think I heard was 45%. Yeah, so it's crazy, but it's.
But I know our state representative is going to be there, and senator as well.
Good.
So.
Mr. Mayor, I would concur that if you're able, through our city team, that we be present. I know we weren't invited, but we certainly have a voice in the size of our city. I believe we should be there, and also then, of course, a resolution. That we do concur in our recommendation for an oversight. We've heard numbers as high as 45%. We've also heard numbers as low as 14%. And I think from what Nancy Nix shared, it would be in that 24 to 30 range that we're hearing this evening. So again, if we can possibly attend on Monday, I'd like to do that.
Joshua,
Please, yeah.
Can you email Don and see if this is a meeting where the mayor or another representative council can attend? I couldn't tell if it was just for the county reps and the commissioners. I don't know if that's for them only, or if this is invite to other municipal reps as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. This could be pretty devastating for seniors and young families. I mean, if they have to pay double digits, but not just double digits, 24%. That's.
Yeah.
People lose their homes.
Luckily, we've got our public servants who are thinking about our citizens.
Mr. Mayor, can I bring up some happy news maybe?
Yes.
Okay, good. As council member, one thing that actually Mayor talked me into, I mean, we're all in different committees and stuff. One thing he talked me into was just checking out the SELF program, which is supports and encourages lower income families. I joined the board, was a little bit confused. You were just leaving it. And it's been one of the best blessings I think I've had, being in council. It's fulfilling. I like the board. It's just been one of the better things. They have this Friday at 5 o'clock, start at 5 o'clock. They have their awards banquet. And I don't know if they're selling tickets at the door or whatever, but I just want you to keep them in. Anytime you hear about them, they do such great work. And this awards banquet is a blast. I went to it last year, and they put it together very well. And it's just nice to hear the stories around when you're sitting around talking to people. And it's nice to hear the stories when I'm at these meetings and what they have done for people. So just think about this organization, what they do. Every time you read about them, it should put a smile on your face. And, if there's any way you can support them, support them. That's what I have to say. So it'll be a lot of fun this weekend.
They're partners on a lot of good things.
They do, not good things, they do great things. It's really awesome. So.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Ravon, were you done?
Done.
I was just going to announce this Saturday is Coffee with Council at Miami Woods, 10 a.m. Saturday morning, right outside the park. There's parking across the street by Potter's golf course, and then also right there at Miami Woods. And our guest speaker will be Adam Cornett of the Parks Conservancy. So I encourage everyone to attend.
Rain or shine?
I think rain or shine. Yes.
It'll be fine. It's going to be good.
It's going to be fine. The sun came out last month and it was beautiful, and then it rained. So that's what I expect.
Mr. Mayor. Many of you that are listening tonight remember back in December and in January when we started our Veterans Banners program, our Hamilton Hometown Heroes Veterans Banners program. I'm proud to announce this evening that we will have a dedication of our Veterans Banners on Saturday, May the 20th, which happens to be Armed Forces Day. That celebration will take place at Armstead Park at the corner of Main and D Streets at noon. We will have a 1-hour ceremony to dedicate the banners. The banners will be installed in the next 2 weeks on Main Street between Main and B and Millville and Eaton, and on B Street between Main Street and the new Spooky Nook complex. We have approximately 125 banners, which is an incredible testimony to all of our Hamiltonians, all of the people that have supported the Banners program, that have submitted their applications for their loved ones and family members to be recognized in our banners. All people are invited. We sent out invitations today to all of the applicants who sent for their banners to be made. The banners are being produced this week and next week and will be displayed along Main Street and B Street as I just shared, but the ceremony dedication will be at noon on Saturday, May the 20th at Armstead Park at the corner of Main and D Street. So we're passing along the invitation. It will be in the media, I'm sure. The City of Hamilton, Chamber of Commerce, Hamilton Community Foundation have all volunteered to e-blast out the announcement as well. So I believe TV Hamilton has been invited to participate in the event, and Mr. Pittman, we hope that you'll be able to join us in the celebration as well. Thanks very much, Mayor.
It's right after coffee with council that day.
That it is.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, it's at Bailey Square. Okay.
Anyone else?
Good job.
I'll say that Frank Downey was named a Hero of Character from the Tri-State Character Council, so they're like parts of 3 states together. He got a Hero of Character as a community volunteer. Hamilton Fairfield Task Force, I mentioned earlier in the meeting. We did meet, we talked about some traffic issues on the streets that border our cities. Talked about a community calendar type of thing with Hamilton and Fairfield, as well as even discussed a little bit about coyote management. Memorial Day and July 4th committees have been meeting. Memorial Day has a laying of the wreath at 9:30 at the monument, a parade at 10 o'clock, and a ceremony at the Greenwood Cemetery at 11:15. July 4th theme is apple pie, ice cream, and baseball. And the Reds have, there are going to be some Reds involvement there in that parade and in that day. Lastly, I know we gave a grant to some money to Lindenwold Little League. I believe they got with that money a defibrillator. They've got, I believe, I didn't see it myself yet, but the traffic calming strips along the side of the road, which is close to some of their baseball fields. So what we're all doing is making an impact. And anything else from council at all at this time before we ask if there's going to be a executive session? Okay. Will there be an executive session?
No.
Oh, no. Oh.
Okay, before
Yes.
he changes it.
No.
Oh, man. Okay. Then.
Might need that defib. Sorry.
Okay. Then is there a motion that this meeting be adjourned?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Pullman, second by Councilmember Fear. Roll call vote on that motion, please.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes, we are adjourned at 7:46. Thank you, TV Hamilton. Thanks to all of you for being here.
Listen, that was in honor of Carla's birthday.